Hi, this is Brendan from Bedrock Games and the Bedrock blog. I have a cold, so I apologize if I cough or if my voice sounds funny. I'm doing another Q&A, and today I'm answering the question. By the way, I think I've answered this one before, but I decided to take it just because it prompted me to think about the topic again, anyways. And this is an ever-changing answer if you're honest with yourself. So I thought it would be fun to answer. And I don't remember the last time I tried to address it, but I'm sure I've said, I'm sure this is a question I've answered multiple times in multiple different ways on the various podcasts we do. The question is, what movie is your favorite wuxia film? And so normally I've provided lists of movies that I like, and whatever occupies the number one slot varies a lot. And I can think there are a range of films that will leap to mind. I often point to Swordsman 2 or Bride with White Hair, or a movie like One Armed Swordsman or Dragon Gate Inn. There are these movies that tend to sort of crop up as my number one. But this time I want to do a couple of things different to sort of force myself to be as honest as I can. After I answer this, after I record this podcast, I'm going to make myself watch whatever my answer is. So it has to be a movie that I'd be willing to watch and enjoy watching the moment I get off this podcast. I think that's going to force me to be, it's going to force me to be more honest and not give the artsy answer. Do you know what I mean? But also I think it's interesting because when I really did think about it, the movie that leapt to mind was one I haven't seen in a number of years. Even though I saw it so many times when like I don't like what was it, like 2000, I can't remember the date, but when I first saw this movie, I just couldn't stop watching it over and over again. So the movie that I would pick is Hero Shed No Tears, which is a 1980 Choi Yuen film, not to be confused with the John Woo movie, which is more of a heroic bloodshed type film. This is a wuxia film called Hero Shed No Tears, and it stars Alexander Fusheng, a number of other people, Derek Yee, Kufeng, Yuhua, like a lot of really big names that if you're a fan of the genre, at least. And what I like about it, number one, the opening song, and I'm a big believer in like the power of music in a film, and I think the song probably repeats as well during the movie. I'm trying to remember, but it doesn't even need to. It's sort of similar to The Last Hurrah for Chivalry. The way that movie starts with that song, it really pulls you in, and I'm very susceptible to that. I don't think that that's a bad quality. I think if a movie can use music in that way, it's part of the medium and it's important. I think and the song to this is incredible, and it really sets the stage. And again, it's in Chinese, so the lyrics are translated on the bottom of the screen, and the lyrics all pertain to the story that you're about to watch. And also, there's almost like a music video before the film, because they play the song and they show you clips of different scenes from the movie, and so you kind of get a taste of what's to come. And I feel like it really prepares your mind for everything that's about to unfold. And so I just really love the song. I also, something really crucial happens with the female character named Graceful, and because it's a female voice singing the song, and you see some of her key moments in the introduction, I think it really sets the stage for that. There's a crucial scene which I will spoil later in the podcast, but actually, you know what? I'm not going to spoil it. I'll leave it. I think that I'm going to leave plot elements not well stated because I don't want to spoil this movie for people. And I have a feeling people who are hearing this, there's a lot of people that maybe haven't seen the movie. So, but just know there's a very crucial scene involving the female character, and something about that song kind of almost foreshadows it somehow. I don't know. It really works. But what what I like about the movie is the way that it deals with themes of brotherhood, but also it sort of like shows you the best of humanity and the worst of humanity, like how how loyal and great men can be to each other and how terrible they can be to one another. And so that's interesting on that front, but it's also interesting because it's a very moving film. Again, there's the scene involving the character I just mentioned, which I won't spoil, but there's a later scene where Gu Feng is playing this great hero, and I won't spoil what's going on, but they've seen better days, and he's about to have this very dramatic duel, and he gives this speech, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the background around this. It's a very dramatic moment, and it's just so amazing. I just remember being riveted to the scene. And again, I don't understand Mandarin. I couldn't, I could see the words at the bottom of the screen, but it didn't matter what they said. It was how it was being said. And I understand there would have been probably a voice actor, but it's about the body language and the voice actor's delivery. And it was a really astounding moment. And it's just one of those things where it's one of those scenes where you realize the power of film. And also the way that scene filled in gaps of the plot that had happened. Like you just sort of filled in all these details that you kind of knew about but didn't really, and it just made the world seem that much bigger. This also has a lot of the beauty that you expect from a Cho Yuen film. Cho Yuen is very good at sort of framing the scene, getting the sets done a certain way, blending all of the costumes together. Just so his movies have a look. They're not movies for people that are really into like accurate kung fu moves, because the fight choreography often tends to be a little bit more dance like, a little bit more generic sword play, but still beautiful. But it's more about how it looks on the screen, and I love his movies for that. And this is a film where you totally get that. The other very interesting thing, and I guess I shouldn't spoil who the villain is, but the villain is done in a very clever way because he's kind of operating behind the scenes, and also there's just something about the way, and I can't spoil the plot, so I've committed to not doing that. But the way that the way one of the main heroes is sort of set up is brilliant. It's a very different take on how a hero might rise in the martial world. And when I say main hero, I don't mean the Alexander Fusheng character. I mean the guy who's like the big hero in the setting of this movie. And so he's sort of more on par with the Ku Feng character. But yeah, it's a really well done film, and it was one of these movies that I remember I had it for ages. Like, sometimes you buy a bunch of films and you just kind of let them sit and you slowly work your way through them. And it was one where the cover didn't really, I must have heard it was a good movie from somebody and got it. But the cover, for whatever reason, kind of made me not as quick to watch it as some of the other ones. And then I remember putting it in, and it was literally one of these films where I just kept putting it back into the DVD. Well, I kept playing it again. I wasn't like I was taking it in and out. But I would just play it over and over again, and I think within the first 2 days I must have seen it 5 or 6 times because I couldn't stop watching it. Which for me, that always means a movie got me. Like if I really just can't stop rewatching it. There was just, and I didn't even know why. There was just something about the movie. I still couldn't really tell you why. There was maybe after I watch it again tonight, I'll have a better idea. I may do a discussion of it. Depends on how I feel. This cold has really been making me worn out. So, but yeah, this was I don't know. This again, it's very hard to pick your number one movie. There's a lot of movies that I can think of that I would want to do. But if you really forced me to think about it and to force me to make a choice, this is probably the movie I've seen more than any other film over and over again. It's the movie I remember distinctly how it made me feel when I watched it. I just remember it instilling this on me in certain moments. It has so many of the elements of the genre that I love. It's directed by one of my favorite directors. Choi Yuen is, I think, an incredible director. He made a lot of movies, so. But I'm speaking of his phase within a particular span of time, and also it's got it's got just a I don't know, that moving score is really something. And another thing about it too is the very creative and innovative weapon that features in the movie. There's a character who has a very special, and again I won't spoil things, but he has a very special weapon that takes a lot of skill to master. I'm pretty sure it was a cool one because we covered the story. My co-writer Jeremy translated the Hero Shed No Tears novel by Gulong, and we actually covered it on the podcast. So it is a very Gulong type of element too. But yeah, I don't know. And also the humor of the movie. There's a couple of moments I remember. It's not like Jackie Chan humor, but like when they introduce the Kufeng character, there's a whimsy to it that I really like, and there's a whimsy to his character. The characters are all well drawn. You every character is distinct. In some movies, for me, a successful wuxia movie makes very distinct characters, but doesn't make them. They fall just short of being cartoonish. They're still grounded somehow. They're bigger than life, but they're not cartoonish. I don't quite know how to put it. I know when it's exceeded the boundaries that I want. And this movie gets the right balance for me. There's no way that you would confuse any of the main characters. Their costumes are too different. Their personalities are too different. Their even like just their mannerisms are too different. And so yeah, it's a really really good film. I think now I will say I think it's a bit longer. Like a lot of these old Shaw Brothers films are like they hit like 1 hour 30 minutes on the nose. This is one of the ones that hits like 1:45, I think. So it's a little bit longer than not. I mean, there are plenty of other movies that are that length that they made, but if you have a preference for the 90-minute rather than the hour and 30, this is more than the hour and 45. So just be prepared for that. And also, I probably should mention, this is one that I think certain people are going to look at and think it's goofy. I don't want to give the wrong impression because I probably just painted this very lush picture of what the movie looked like and everything. And I know it's an older movie, so I want to prepare people's minds for the fact that it has elements that people might consider goofy. In fact, one of the scenes that I think of as very moving and impactful, I can completely see how people would see that and laugh at it. So it's definitely that kind of film. But I found I was so heavily immersed in the movie, I was fully on board with everything that happened. And I really wish I could talk about that scene because then I could justify what I'm trying to say here, but I'm trying not to spoil it for you. I will do a spoiler included discussion after I watch it if I have the energy to do so. But yeah, this is definitely one that I think it's worth watching if you're trying to get a handle on the genre. I think because it does a lot of things that aren't in other wuxia movies, but it's still very within the genre. And I think it's available on Prime. I wonder if it's available on Blu-ray. Let me see if it is. I'd be very curious. The other thing is, like I said, when you look up Heroes Shed No Tears, also the poetry of them, I should say the poetry of it, and it's a little bit more apparent in the book, but it's still in the movie. Just the poetry of the title, is present through the movie in a way slightly different from in the book, but it's a key. I think it's a key theme that makes the movie work. And so, but when you look up Heroes Shed No Tears, you're going to see a John Woo movie with machine guns that was made in like 1986 or something. And that is not the movie I'm talking about. I'm talking about Heroes Shed No Tears 1980 by Choi Yuen. You most likely the first movie you're going to see is the John Woo movie. So just keep that in mind. And yeah, it looks like it. I guess Heroes Shed No Tears is not available in Blu-ray. And the DVD is still available. Apparently, I have the Swordmaster DVD. I believe. I think that's the version I have, and that was quite good. But as I'm sure a lot of people know, if you have like a modern TV or a modern Blu-ray player, sometimes these older DVDs look a little funny when you play them. So sometimes it's handy to get them in Blu-ray. It's also available on Prime. I think I own it. because it says I can watch it now. I'm not sure if I own it or not though. But yeah, so that's the movie, and I'm gonna end this, and then like I said, I'm gonna watch it because that was that was sort of part of the premise here, and yeah, until next time, I'll talk to you later.